That's great. That's great news. I did have another question, and so switching gears just a bit. Recently, SUNY adopted a resolution to install a $15 minimum wage. So my question is, what will be the cost to the system once that is fully phased in?
So I always begin with our support for the concept. I have to say that we supported the concept ahead of how we're going to pay for it. That's typically not the way you do things, but it's important that we make a statement in support of a living wage for our employees. We have calculated the cost by 2018, which is full implementation, and then the immediate annual cost. Eileen?
So immediately this year, because we're implementing at SUNY starting in January, it's going to be $2 million. By the end of the next academic year, it's going to be $6 million. By the end of the full phase-in period, it'll be $29.7 million.
And we would welcome state support in that regard.
Well, we've had a lot of discussions today about tuition costs and you know, the different pressures that are on the system currently. When you look at those figures, does that include factors for compression? So that, no. Or is it just the $15?
It's state workers, so it does not, on the SUNY campuses, it's not looking at compression with collective bargaining units, nor is it looking at compression amongst other employment on those campuses.
Okay, thank you. There is included in the budget a new SUNY apprenticeship program, and could you just give us a little bit more information about that effort?
Well, several years ago, we made a public commitment to ensure that every student at SUNY had some form of applied learning, learning by doing. That was a big umbrella. We know that even our work-study students are having a work experience. And by the way, someone who's flipping hamburgers at McDonald's is having a work experience. So how do we capture all of that and make sure that we can afford it, because our faculty have to be retrained in some instances to make sure they help students find those applied learning opportunities. We've been partnering with the New York State Business Council to create, thanks to Accenture, an online matching system for students as interns with industry, business and industry that can accommodate a paid internship. And we have a newly endowed Center for Applied Learning at Potsdam that we hope will serve, you don't mind, do you, the entire SUNY system?
Not at all.
And please
help. At our Center for Applied Learning, the aim is to look at those kinds of programs that can be scalable and to look at best practices for documenting student learning outcomes through their applied learning, looking at a variety of models for compensation of faculty who engage in that, and then export those out through the SUNY system. We're working with Oneonta on several different methods to try and document student learning. And the aim is really to ensure that every campus has the ability to figure out how to do it in a way that makes sense for their campus, their students, and their location.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
I just want to add my voice in support of the critical maintenance funding that is absolutely crucial. And also, we do need more capital somehow for the SUNY system to really continue to bring it forward. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Barbara Lifton.
Hello, welcome. I want to ask a question of Mr. Mastro. I'm sure he's feeling quite neglected here.
Yeah.
And I will get to you in a moment, actually. I'm just giving you a little warning, and I'm sure that Chancellor Zimfra has warned you perhaps that I'm a little skeptical on the tuition issue and that I'd much rather see the state, I'm sure you probably would too, step up to the plate and do much more than we're doing. So I want to ask you about your role as president of the student body, student assembly, and about how those elections happen at the campus level and so on. So I'm just giving you a little bit of a warning there on the topic. But Chancellor, I think I'll start with you on the Ed TPA. I've talked about this before, I've asked questions about it before, and I'm very concerned that I'm still hearing the same sort of litany of problems about the teacher certification process at the SUNY campuses, the Ed TPA, the other assessments and exams. I'm told that across SUNY, teacher education programs have Enrollment has dropped by about 40%. Same as at my SUNY campus, SUNY Cortland, that does so much, the #1 teacher preparation campus in the state. Very serious concern about that. I'm told there are serious teacher shortages already across the state in areas such as special ed, technology education, early childhood education, and in STEM fields as well. There's a concern about diversity, that students of color, students from minority districts are not enrolling in these teacher ed programs, or enrolling and then not going through and finishing to the Ed TPA, which they have to do before they graduate, yes, and even begin to go out and teach. And that maybe they finish the program, but like 50% are not signing up for that final piece of the assessments in Ed TPA. Very concerned about this. I'm not hearing any positive news about this from a year ago and maybe 2 years ago when some of these issues were first raised. My last question on this, and I'd just like to have you speak to these issues, is the issue of Pearson. They're not in P12 anymore, but they're still in higher ed testing. Is it true that the state does not pay Pearson for their creating and administering of the exams, of the 4 exams and assessments that all teachers, new teachers must take, that they make all their profits from the students' taking of tests and their retaking of tests in many cases? I'm told many students are spending $1,000 on the first exam and then retakes of these exams, and they're not getting much feedback about why they're not doing well. There's just a litany. I could take more time, but I think I'll let you speak. I could go through a longer list of the details of concerns.
Well, I would say I appreciate your list. It is exactly every question plus 50 more that we put on the table a year ago when we formed a panel called Teach New York. We prepare 5,000 teachers a year across 17 comprehensive campuses, and I dare say most of our community colleges give the preliminary introduction to teaching as a profession, and 40% of our teacher candidates come from our community colleges. So we are shortly to publicly present the findings of Teach New York. We've spent a year trying to unravel every one of the problems that you've cited. And they are respected and appreciated issues, and we really value teacher education at SUNY. So when you see our recommendations, I think they will solve, or are intended to solve, many of the problems you've presented, and many more that you didn't list, but I know you know about. So it's called Teach New York. We had every important educator in the state of New York at that table, including representation from our CUNY system, our colleagues at CUNY, and our independent colleges, and we hope that this will be a breakthrough for teacher education in New York. So at this point, I think to give Tom time, I just want to say to you, we're on it. We know these are issues. We want to change our enrollment strategy. We're overproducing teachers in some areas and underproducing in others, so I just want to compliment you on the litany of things that are problematic and to tell you that I think Teach New York will address them.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing that report. Mr. Mastro, quickly in my last few seconds here. So you compared your role to our role as elected representatives. Yeah. And you know, many of us are very concerned about low voter turnout. You may know that. I don't know what your major is. Tom, what's your major?
I'm human development and education at Binghamton University.
Education and human development. So you probably follow politics a little bit. You're a leader in the political world. So we're very concerned about voter turnout in our world. And one of the things that I, and no doubt many of my colleagues have done, is that we poll our constituents to get a very accurate, you know, we think sometimes when 20 or 30% of the people turn out to vote, maybe we're not getting an accurate view of how people really feel about things. It's important to do a valid scientific poll to find out how people feel. You probably don't have the ability to do that, although it might be a great thing for SUNY to think about doing, Chancellor, to get a really accurate picture. But if you haven't, maybe you've done that, maybe I'm wrong about that, but other ways that you've tried to reach out to what we might call disenfranchised voters, kids on campus that are so busy and commuting and they don't even know what day the election, I mean, I don't know what your process looks like, and I'd like to know what that process looks like, actually. I'd love some information. What percentage of the students are voting in elections, and what do you do to make sure you're hearing voices that may not otherwise be heard?
Okay, yeah. So like I said, each campus, based on the total enrollment of the student population, sends delegates to the SUNY Student Assembly conferences. And those representatives that are sent to us, depending on the campus and how their student government is structured, the campus itself either elects the delegates or the student government itself elects the delegates that are then sent to SUNY Student Assembly. Throughout the past 2 years, I've been going to the conferences for, now this is going to be my 4th year, and our enrollment of number of delegates that have been sent and campuses that have been represented at our conference actually has gone up within the last 3 years from when I started coming to our conferences. For example, our community colleges, the majority of them, as they are smaller, send 1 or 2 or 3 delegates, while our larger institutions such as University at Buffalo, Albany, Binghamton send 4 to 5 delegates. And prior to those meetings, the student governments are given the documents that they'll be voted on at our conference. So from there, they'll bring those documents to their campus student government and Senate to look at those types of resolutions, and then from there, the delegates come to our conference and vote on behalf of the entire campus.
Not sure you quite spoke to a question about, on each individual campus, how does that election of their representatives or delegates happen?
Do you know the percentage
What
of
kind of
students who
voter
vote on the
turnout is
local
there at
campuses?
SUNY Geneseo, for instance, or SUNY Binghamton or SUNY Potsdam? Do you have those numbers? Do you have any sense of how many
We've been
students
actually looking at
participate?
that. Yeah, we've actually been looking at that for the same reason that you've brought up, ensuring that what's actually coming forth is accurate. I know specifically at our bigger institutions, the student governments are pretty prominent and known on campus. While some of our smaller institutions, I could speak to the community college sector pretty well. I was the president of the student government at SUNY Broome Community College 2 years ago. And with that, the turnover rate of the student government officials is pretty rapid within 1 year. With that, the student population as well. So ensuring that the student government has a good footing on the campus is something that our student governments are looking at to ensure that when students turn over, that the student government presence stays.
Thank you. Anecdotally, I'm concerned about the number of students I hear from that are very concerned about tuition increases, and I'm sure you represent a certain proportion of SUNY students, and who knows how many really don't even have the time to weigh in and tell us about their debt and how concerned they are. But thank you very much. I appreciate your responses.
Thank you, Senator.
I think the senators are done.
All right, we can close with Mr. Ra to close.
Thank you, Chairman.
Hi.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to see if we could further address an issue that Chancellor Zimfer mentioned, but it might be something that's of interest to President Kress also, and that's the community college child care program. I know that obviously this is a budget who, hits on a lot of great types of issues like family leave and minimum wage, and we always talk about, when it comes to higher education, the funding side of things in terms of access of all different types of students. But I think obviously this is a very key area as well for students. And you mentioned, 100 coming in the door, 40 going out, and I'm sure this is one of the areas that's been identified. So I'm wondering if you can elaborate what the impact of a cut like this would be, because I'm certainly hearing from, I'm in Nassau County. Our community college tells us that this program is very well utilized, and I think that, the impact of a cut like this is going to be to remove opportunities for people to go and get a higher education. Are the other campuses seeing this program at capacity, or is there something I'm missing in terms of why this is being targeted for a cut by the executive?
I'm happy to respond on behalf of the community colleges. I can say that we view this as vital funding for our students. Many of our students simply cannot go to college if they cannot be assured that someone is there, a high-quality setting to take care of their own children. We have multiple campuses and centers within MCC. Let me take our downtown campus. 75% of the students at our downtown campus qualify for Pell. 66% of those students are female. The vast majority of them are first-generation college. They're not just going to college for themselves, they're setting a precedent for their whole family. The reality is, without childcare subsidies, most of them cannot go to school. So what does that mean in a community like Rochester, where child poverty is among the nation's highest? It means those families really will see no pathway out of poverty. So these are essential dollars to our campus. I want to thank the legislature for restoring and adding funding over time, but to see it cut year after year, I have to say, is a bit dispiriting.
It's also part of the legislative agenda of the Student Assembly.
Yep. This is an item that has been on our legislative affairs agenda for quite a few years now. And looking at our student populations, especially at some of our community colleges, the non-traditional student rate has been going up. With that, our child care centers are in need of additional funding for proper staffing and the facilities themselves. In addition to that, at a great number of our campuses, our students that are in our early childhood education programs often go in and they do the applied learning experience within those facilities as well. So this item specifically, we've been pushing for, I know last year and then also this year, for increased funding.
It's interesting how this links to teacher preparation, because our early childhood programs really do need to be expanded, and it's all related to serving this high-need population.
Well, thank you, and I think I'm confident that there's going to be a lot of support in the legislature for the restoration of this, and hopefully the expansion of it as it should be. But thank you all, and I want to thank Mr. Mastro, who I had the opportunity of meeting at a reception a few weeks ago. And as I told him, my earliest government experience was student government in college, and I met my wife through student government in college. So it's an important thing you're doing, and glad to see you sitting up there with these distinguished people in higher education advocating for your fellow students. Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Chancellor, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a good session. We appreciate the questions.
Went so quickly.
Time flew by. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. That's good.
It's nice seeing you.
Thank you.
Let me
Pleasure. Will I see you tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am.
Just cleaning house.
Yes, ma'am. You certainly will. Should be good.
Thank you, Robert.
My pleasure, Chancellor.
Kristen, thank you.
Get out of here.
I was trying to get him. Should have handed me Oh, no, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And thank you. That's a critical issue for our students, sincerely.
Just had a meeting with our delegation down in Nassau,
Yeah. No, absolutely. So thank you. Thank you for your support.
All those scholarships. Just started. We started too late, but we haven't been right. So we have 80 this year. We had 80 last year. We have 31 new this year. Only 15 of the 80 last year. Where are you going to be?
They're going to be close. Just look back.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be. So who's that guy over there now? Mr. Chairman. Thank you.